Welcome to the show, WWE Nation. This is SmackDown Spotlight, your update center for matches and news. Hit that bell and let's begin. They say wrestling is scripted, but not everything behind the curtain can be controlled. This is one of those stories. What happened when Jimmy Uso left WWE wasn't just a business decision or a creative change. It was a heartbreak that tore apart one of wrestling's most celebrated families. And while the company has done everything it can to polish the narrative and move on, the truth behind closed doors tells a different, deeply human story. One filled with raw emotion, loyalty, betrayal, and love that runs deeper than championships. When the news hit Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the unshakable leader, found out about Jimmy Uso's exit not through management, not through a private meeting, but the same way the rest of the world did, through rumors and headlines. Those close to him say that moment changed everything. Alone in his locker room, Roman read and reread the news on his phone, disbelief turning slowly into heartbreak. The man who built an empire around family suddenly realized the very family he'd built it with was crumbling around him. Witnesses recall the silence first, then the storm. A phone smashed against the wall, a table overturned, and the image of the strongest man in WWE sitting in a chair, his face buried in his hands. "He was my brother," he kept repeating, over and over. Behind the title, behind the bravado, was a man grieving something money and fame could never replace. The breaking point. Behind the scenes, Jimmy Uso's departure wasn't the peaceful, creative split fans were told about. According to multiple insiders, Jimmy had been growing frustrated with WWE's creative direction, particularly when it came to how the Bloodline story was evolving. He wasn't fighting for more spotlight or money, he was fighting for authenticity, for respect, for his family's legacy. In one crucial meeting, Jimmy reportedly spoke up against creative decisions he felt disrespected that legacy. It wasn't an act of rebellion, it was a plea to preserve what made the Bloodline special. But in a system that often values control over collaboration, his honesty became a liability. And when egos clashed, decisions were made that would change everything. WWE's official statement painted the exit as amicable. But behind closed doors, it was anything but. Jimmy was quietly shown the door, while executives focused on minimizing the fallout rather than addressing the damage. The Bloodline in shock. The Bloodline wasn't just a faction, it was family. Real cousins, real blood, real bonds. The news of Jimmy's exit hit each of them differently, but for all, it hit hard. Jey Uso, the other half of one of WWE's most celebrated tag teams, was shattered. Those who saw him that night describe a man in complete disbelief. He didn't yell or cry, he just shut down. Hours later, Solo Sikoa found him sitting alone in the parking lot, long after everyone else had gone home. "It's like losing half of yourself," Jey whispered. "We've never been apart, not since we were born." Solo, usually the silent enforcer, was seen later in the catering area, visibly emotional, staring at his phone as if waiting for a text from his brother that would never come. Even Jacob Fatu, one of the newest members of the group, was devastated. He'd looked up to Jimmy as a mentor, a big brother who taught him how to survive in the unforgiving world of WWE. Now, that guiding voice was gone. A family torn apart. Behind the curtain, the Bloodline dynamic wasn't just storytelling. It was an extension of real life. Roman and Jimmy grew up together, dreaming of moments like these long before WWE cameras ever rolled. Their bond wasn't manufactured. It was forged in childhood, in shared dreams, and in the unspoken promise to make their family proud. When Jimmy left, it wasn't just a storyline twist. It was a real fracture in that bond. For Roman, the loss cut deeper than any defeat he's ever suffered in the ring. He didn't just lose a teammate, he lost a piece of himself. The fallout and fan reaction. When word spread, the wrestling community rallied. Fans across the world began sharing their favorite Jimmy Uso moments, flooding social media with love and support. Wrestlers from every promotion, WWE, AEW, Impact, offered respect for his years of dedication and professionalism. The hashtag honoring him trended worldwide, with fans demanding transparency and justice. For once, the wrestling world stood united, not in rivalry, but in compassion for one of its own. Even as the company moved quickly to rewrite storylines and shift focus, fans could feel that something was missing. You can't script chemistry. You can't replace authenticity. The Bloodline without Jimmy Uso simply doesn't feel the same. Roman's silent battle Roman Reigns, the face of WWE and the pillar of strength, now finds himself carrying an invisible burden. Those close to him say the weight of Jimmy's departure has changed him. He shows up, delivers, and plays his role. But behind the camera, he's distant. The spark that once defined him has dimmed. Friends describe him as exhausted, not from training, but from the emotional strain of holding together a story that no longer mirrors his reality. The man who preaches loyalty and family is forced to perform those very ideals for a company that just shattered them. In private moments, Roman has reportedly questioned his own path, his loyalty, and his future. For the first time in years, the tribal chief is unsure whether the kingdom he built is still worth ruling. Jimmy Uso's enduring legacy. No matter what corporate narratives try to erase, Jimmy Uso's legacy is secure. He and Jey redefined tag team wrestling for a generation, combining athleticism, storytelling, and real brotherhood into something timeless. They made fans care, not just about the moves, but about the men behind them. Jimmy's quiet strength, humility, and love for his family made him a standout, not just as a performer, but as a human being. His influence will continue through the wrestlers he mentored, the matches he elevated, and the fans who believed in him. For every edited highlight reel, there are countless memories that can't be erased. For every corporate statement, there are real people who remember what he stood for: loyalty, respect, and family. The unscripted truth. At its core, this isn't a story about contracts or creative direction. It's about humanity. It's about a man who stood for something real in a business that too often forgets what's real. Jimmy Uso's departure has left scars on his family, on his fans, and on the heart of Roman Reigns himself. But it's also revealed something powerful, that the people who make wrestling magic are more than characters. They're brothers, fathers, husbands, and friends, trying to balance passion with self-respect. Roman continues to perform, to lead, to stand tall. But now, every time he walks into that arena, he carries the weight of what was lost. The Bloodline was built on unity, but its future now stands on fractured ground. And through it all, one truth remains. Behind every larger-than-life persona, there's a human being fighting to be heard, respected, and remembered. Jimmy Uso may no longer walk through WWE's doors, but his spirit still echoes through every match, every cheer, and every fan who refuses to forget what family really means.